I always remember when I did not understand how I used to stand under all the fool's rules running these lands. I had my head in the sand and I was asleep. Now I learn a little more every day and I'm waking the sheep. Gonna say it out loud, say it proud, get it out, 'cause I'm burning inside, cannot hide it no more. I'm a raconteur too. Yeah, I'm a raconteur too. Oh, I'm a raconteur too. All the people in the chat room singing. Oh, I'm a raconteur too. One more time now. Oh, I'm a raconteur too.
Are we ready, Andy? Is it in? Good evening and welcome to Raconteurs News this Monday. It's the 15th of October 2018. I need to get out of that, but I'm sure it'll happen at some point. And it's been a great weekend and I've really enjoyed myself. I've had a cracking weekend this weekend. I've been out on my leg and done a bit of walking, so out independent and walking with a stick now. And probably tomorrow night or maybe another night, I'll show everybody who's watching how awesome I am on my new leg. But it's been an interesting weekend. I was keeping a close eye on the Democratic Football Lads Alliance thing that were going on in London over the weekend, and we've got previous guest Dave Sumner was down there as well, and some interesting videos that he put up from that, including I think one of the most ridiculous. They've got rid of the in London, in certain parts of London, they've got rid of the dog. They've got rid of the green man that comes up and tells you that it's okay to go across the road at crossings, and it's now a green symbol, male, female, bi, gender, thing, female. It's essentially one of them female male things, and it's got everything on it. And it just so everybody can walk. So I don't know if transsexual people or gay people thought that when the green man came on, that it didn't appear to it wasn't for them, and decided that they needed something else to so that they could walk through. But have a look on that. It's Dave Sumner. He was on a couple of weeks ago. Have a look at it on Facebook. I did notice that the video that he posted had something like 400, 500 shares, but yet it was only showing 4,000 views. So that's obviously a pile of rubbish. But have a look at that. Anyway, joined as usual by my partner in crime, my old mucker, Andy Young. How you doing, Andy?
I'm doing all right, mate. Unlike you, I haven't been watching what's going on all weekend. I haven't even switched my computer on. I've been watching a bit of bike racing and just chilling out.
Well, I noticed Liam Aslam, didn't he win the championship this weekend?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's. I remember his dad racing. His dad were a good mate of mine. And he's just about done everything except winning a championship in the last 20 years. The last championship he won was a scooter racing championship exactly 20 years ago. So he's a bit overdue for another win.
Oh,
so,
brilliant.
Congratulations to Leon. He's a great lad.
Oh, it's Leon. Leon, is it? I thought it was Liam. You see, I know absolutely nothing about motorbike racing, but I took an interest because I know you had an interest and we could talk about it. I don't suppose there's any chance of you getting interested in football, but yeah, I did watch it this weekend, and it was pretty treacherous conditions, and I think there were some lucky fellas out there as well. There was quite a few fell off, weren't there?
Oh, yeah. I mean, bike racing, the safety equipment and the runoff areas and the tracks have vastly improved since I was involved like 35, 40 years ago. In them days, you'd be getting guys dying on the track on a regular basis. Nowadays, it's an extreme rarity, thankfully. Still get one or two killed on the open road circuits, but that is what it is. It's, you know, you're racing between stone walls and trees and lampposts at 200 mile an hour. If you come unstuck there ain't no room for runoff. It doesn't matter how good your safety equipment is. You hit a stone wall at 190 mile an hour, it's not going to end well, is it?
No, certainly not. Anyway, enough about the motorbikes. I'd like to apologise for Webby, who's booked tonight's guest. And now, because we had to reschedule from last week to this week, he's found himself victim of an erroneous shift pattern. He said he might be back for the last half hour, but that we'll not hold him to that. But if he does get on, it will be very interesting. So, Andy, why don't you introduce our guest this evening?
Yeah, well, I think the best thing we can do is introduce the guest and let him introduce himself. So tonight's guest is Alan Vinnicome, also known as the Armchair Detective. Alan, would you like to fill people in with your story, how you got started, and what it is exactly that you're doing, please?
Okay, well, first of all, just come back from my son's wedding. I actually drunk too much, so if I'm a bit slow, it's not because I'm a million miles away. It's because I've had a few drinks over the weekend. But I'm okay now. Armchair Detective. I don't know why it's hit a chord around the world with 6 million views now already. Seems to be a lot of people out there that starved information on the Madeline McCann case. Why are we starved information? There's a reason. There's an institutionalized cover-up going on. That's got mainstream media, the police involved, TV, documentaries. There's one on now. You might have seen it on BBC once. Cry. It's based on Madeline McCann case, and also the case in Australia where the dingo ran off with the child, the Chamberlain case.
Yeah.
You know, they've linked the two together because Chamberlain was put in prison and proved innocent eventually. So they're trying to say, well, probably the McCanns are innocent as well. You see how they subconsciously link the two together? They can't be guilty because Chamberlain wasn't guilty. Chamberlain didn't have a body in her car. Chamberlain didn't have DNA in her car. There was enough DNA in her car to convict the McCanns in the UK.
Sorry, Alan. How did you first get started on this, and how was it that you decided that this was a subject that you were going to concentrate on, or was it just something that fell into your lap and you just decided and it sort of snowballed from there?
Always been interested in since the moon landing. I honestly don't think happened. It's impossible in the 60s. So I was told I was crazy to say the moon landing didn't happen, but as time goes on, there seems to be more people agreeing with me. Similarly with the McCann case, I didn't like it from day one. I didn't like the fact they were saying the shutters were jemmied and little girls abducted when no one actually knew what went on so quickly. Perturbed me a bit, but as the years gone by, I've got annoyed about it, and I've more looked into how mainstream media try to brainwash us in all different aspects, not just the McCann case. So my interest is spread out from that. But I suppose if you ask, am I an expert on any one case, it would be that one. And the longer it goes on, the more I get annoyed about it, to be honest with you. I just want to see, not so justice, yes, but I want to see fair reporting. The reporting on it is so blinkered and one-eyed spin, it drives me crazy. That's what drives me on.
But you could say that about anything in the mainstream news. What struck me about the McCann case was how it was immediately everywhere. I remember I was driving home from Bury, where I'd been working in a club in Boozer in Bury, DJing, and it was like 2-3 o'clock in the morning. I'm on my way home, and this is when the news first broke that there'd been a child missing, and they thought they'd been abducted in Pride-a-Luz. So it was always prominent, wasn't it? If there was something nefarious about it, don't you think that it would have been perhaps not quite as vocal and visual, or do you think they saw an opportunity to again expose the good nature of the people of this country that will put their hand in the pocket and chip in for for certain causes, that especially when it comes to children?
Well, this case is amazing, isn't it? Because you've got the Portuguese police files, 30,000 pages, every witness statement, apart from the few they've kept back. So they weren't expecting these files to be released to us. And that's what's fascinating. You imagine having 30,000, you're inside the case. So every witness that spoke without knowing their statements are released to us, you can see the discrepancies for yourself. You can study the case. You can say, well, they're lying there. If they're not lying there, they're lying in the paper. They're lying in one of it. So there's so many things you can look into, the crash records, who saw what, when and where. And that's what I find totally interesting about it. It's like, imagine Jack the Ripper, but we've got so much more information. Now, as far as the case goes, it's not a missing person case. Within 48 hours, there were over 100 government agency people there, right from control risks, who are sent out to do damage control when there's been a major incident, MI5, MI6, 2 or 3 police forces, profilers, crackers, people that are crackers that crack a case, and just non-stop. The ambassadors, so many that I can't even mention, were there in 48 hours. Now, a child's missing in a tiny village in Portugal. How do they get there so quick? Some of these people are going to be arranged to be there almost before it happens. How can that be? That's the sort of question I pose to my people that follow my stuff, really.
We've got this situation, we've got this ridiculous situation that this case seems to be one of the ones that you cannot mention anything to. On mainstream media, there's no criticism of the McCanns, even though when you look at mainstream newspapers and they do a story about the McCanns, I don't know these days whether it's the same, but in the comments section there used to be a lot of people that would be saying, why have not the parents not been investigated? These parents left the children while they went and enjoyed themselves, drinking and eating and doing these stuff. Why are there no questions of them? It smacks of something a lot more sinister than what it first appears.
I tell you what, it smacks me of the Truman Show. You ever see that film?
Yeah.
Where there's certain people are in on it, and some are not. The general public don't believe it. They're not grasping it. They're not believing them. The narrative is not believable. So the public are not stupid on the whole. They're going to go, I don't believe this, and yet every newspaper believes them. Every multimillionaire that gives them money within 10 seconds knows they're totally innocent. Every ex-policeman from the Met goes on the TV and tells us it's an abduction without looking into it, without studying their own manuals, where you look at the last to see, who was that? The father. The first to say what happened, the mother. In these cases, 95% of the time, they're the perpetrators. But you can't say that. These are like some saintly Jew up there. You cannot accuse them. If you do, you're a vicious troll. And that if you say that, it could even like Brenda Leyland could lead to your death eventually, because the MSM will hound you down and say you're a terrible person for how dare you even question this couple? How dare you say, can we please look at the evidence?
And you've got quite a lot of videos online, haven't you, that you've made? How many videos have you made? And like you said, I think you said earlier on, 6 million views. Is that collectively, or is that
collectively? But around the world, what I like about it, my audience now is 10% in America, and Americans know next to nothing about this case. They know about the Ramsey case. They don't know about this case. It's very similar. But I'm trying to build the market up in America, because I think America will be the breakthrough. If it's going to break through, our mainstream media are never going to change anything. Like I said, they just produce documentaries that are pro McCann. There's one on now, Cry. That's what they do all the time. So it's not going to be exposed here. You have super junctions, ganging orders, and all sorts of stoppages to it. If you see the news any night, you can feel it sanitized. There's so many orders and gagging orders. on the news that when you see it, it's not really the news anymore, is it? It's BBC are owned by the government, although they're independent. Where do they get their money from? The government. So we can't trust RMSM to change things. But I think in America, if you look at Making of a Murderer, for instance, on Netflix, that was so popular, and they exposed their own police force. They showed the corruption of the police. They were fearless on that particular program, and it was watched by millions around the world. Now they're doing one on the McCanns. The McCanns refused to take part in the Netflix documentary, which means Netflix have refused to agree to let the answers be chosen and the questions chosen by Team McCann, Clarence Mitchell, for instance. So they're not taking part, which means it's got a chance of being balanced. All I'm asking for is a balanced view. If we can get a balanced view, then we can make our minds up. And not only that, it's not in McCann's interest never to be questioned, is it? Would you like that hanging over you all your life? Would you rather be cleared, answer the questions you're asked, and get cleared like they were supposed to be done day one? Or would you want to go on with this? Walking in the supermarket, people looking at you, people talking. Must be a horrible existence.
Oh, of course. One thing I'd just like to point out that's been in the chat, and you're saying about 10% of your listeners or viewers being in America. We're about the same. I just checked, and we've got about 11% of our listeners in the States. We've got quite a big listenership in Sweden as well, bizarrely enough.
Sweden? No, I'm not very popular in Sweden yet. Not yet.
Oh, well, our second most popular town is a place called Ljungsbro in Sweden, wherever the hell that is. Hello, everybody over there.
Well, my second biggest audience is Australia for me. Australia's my biggest audience.
Australia, Ireland, Spain, Portugal. We've got a comment from Karen Game in the chat room. Says, my son's in USA, Kansas, and when I'm there, they do talk about the McCann case. So people seem to get a little bit of noticing. Maybe it's only folks like us who have gone through the process of awakening to the mainstream disinformation that we're fed on a daily basis that are aware of it.
Yeah, well, I did a big program last week on the Ed Hopperman show. Don't you know Ed Hopperman? He's a top true crime reporter. He does.
We used to be on the same channel as Ed at one time. Yeah,
right. Well, we did a 2-hour show with him last week, and that got a lot of response from the States. And you'd be surprised how many people in the States knew nothing about the case. Zero. Even Ed was struggling on a lot of it, to be honest.
But there is a prominent. I can't remember. I think she's a criminologist or something. It's called Sam Brown, or she's called Brown. The lady,
Pat Brown.
Pat Brown. That's the one. Yeah. She had because she's trying to highlight the case in America. She's done a few little few interviews and stuff.
Well, I can tell you about her. She was very popular. She used to be on mainstream TV until she started being anti-McCann and started doubting the McCanns. Her mainstream TV work has dried up completely, along with a lady called Sandra Paulson over here that used to be on our mainstream, and her work seems to have dried up in the same way because they refused to toe the line. Pat Brown even had a book removed from Amazon that was anti-McCann. They were Carter Ruck, basically Carter Ruck, or McCann's sort of hatchet man, and anything that crops up, they just write to Amazon and say take this down or else. And of course, Amazon are not going to be on the side of a self-published book where they haven't got much money in it. Why would they spend thousands fighting the giant machine that is Carter Ruck? So poor old Pat, she's been sort of disintegrated from mainstream media and punished for what her views are, which are the same as mine. The McCanns were involved in some way in this. I'm not saying what they did, but in some way they were involved.
Yeah, that once you start to look into it, I mean, I've looked at the case since it really first came to light, and there's so many things that don't fit. And you know, I mean, what was it? 49 questions. Kate McCann was asked by the Portuguese police. She gave no comment to 48 of them. And the only one that she did answer was where she confirmed her mind, which. Searching for a missing child, you ain't going to go no comment all the way through the interview, are you?
Well, you would think not, unless you had damn good lawyer that you paid a fortune for, which they did. They're Portugal's top lawyer with them, who was allowed to sit in on it. That's fine. But they also had some British people there sat with her as well. Then you're going to be told, don't say anything because it might incriminate you. How can you incriminate yourself when you've lost your child? Unless you've got something to hide.
Well,
that's what no comment is, surely.
Yeah, here's a thought. How you can incriminate yourself is one very simple way. They were very small children left on their own in an apartment while their parents were out drinking with their friends, not within earshot of where those children were. You know, be a different story if they sat on the balcony with the door open, but they weren't. They were at a pub several hundred yards away, weren't they?
Well, no, I don't believe they were. I don't believe the children were left alone at any time. Not really, no. I think that was a hangout, what you call a hangout, where they hang out the lesser charge and neglect to cover up a much bigger.
No, what I meant by bringing that up, Alan, was that
that's what they admitted to, yeah.
If your average council house family had gone to Benidorm and left their kids in the apartment and gone out on the pop, if one of them went missing, the rest of the kids would be in care before you could snap your fingers, wouldn't they? But because of the connections the McCanns have got, anyone who suggests that is an absolute vile instrument of the devil.
Well, the thing is, they were like white middle-class doctors, and somehow that means they have to be believed. But there's loads of white middle-class people who've murdered people or been involved in crime. How's that how's that any sort of barometer of how evil you're not? I don't see that at all. But you're right. If they were a cancer house, they would have been arrested and lost their kids for sure, 100%. Why weren't they? They have some either special information or some very, very special friends in prominent places.
Well, there was something we touched on when we first talked to check out that we could get on this stupid Google Hangout thing when it actually worked the first time, and that was someone who used to be a regular listener and contributor in the chat room was telling us way back when they were on a flight either to or from Portugal that the McCanns were both on there. And they were watching them and noticed how very strange it was that during the entire time of this flight, they never spoke a single word to one another. But the really bizarre thing was when someone was taken ill and there was an appeal went out, is there a doctor on the plane? And Jerry McCann stood up and said, "I'm a nurse, if that's any help." Now, he's a cardiologist. I've never known a cardiologist who's professed to be a nurse. That sounds completely ridiculous.
Well, he definitely went to medical school, and he definitely, he became a doctor. So he would have had some knowledge of being a doctor. As to a nurse, no, he's not a nurse. Never has been. Probably never will be. I can't really comment on that because I'm not aware of it. Well, but it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. As for not talking to each other, wouldn't surprise me one bit. That wouldn't surprise me because how do we know what goes on behind closed door in any relationship, let alone the pressure they've been under? It must be horrendous.
Of course, yeah.
Maybe they didn't get on. I wouldn't be surprised at that.
Well, I often wondered, and I know this is a bit trite in that, but I often wondered whether Michael Jackson had taken Madeline McCann on account that Kate McCann had stolen Michael Jackson's nose.
Well, I'm not sure if you're allowed to joke about this. I shouldn't be laughing. You'll probably get arrested now. Prepare to be card rut and closed down overnight, my friend.
Well, I was watching something, and it reminded me of the McCanns. I was watching something over the weekend. It was something on Netflix, and it was about. I think it was called The Lost Honor of Christopher Jeffries. Now, he was the guy who was the landlord in Bristol, who one of his tenants was murdered, as it turned out, by another tenant, Joanna Yates, she was called, was murdered, and he was arrested and he was vilified in the press. And he'd not even done anything. you know, and his life had been turned completely upside down by the press. You would imagine, and again, we're talking about a fairly well-to-do bloke, a property owner, and somebody who was well known within the community as well. So we're not talking about, you know, just some chav that they think that they can just have a go at. That guy's life was completely destroyed. Now, with the McCanns, it was like the exact opposite, and that's the weird thing. You know, you would have thought the papers, and I know there's been one or two, probably only, you could probably count them on one hand, the amount of newspaper articles that have been in mainstream media that have questioned or that even brought up the very fact that the McCanns should have something to answer to. And so the way that the two cases have been dealt are polar opposites, but also because the polar opposites, but they're also the same because there's an extreme reaction in both cases. One extreme is we're just going to go out and call this guy a pervert and, you know, just make all sorts of shit up, and then I think 600,000 quid in end, which is note to them. They probably made about 5-6 times that, selling the papers with all the shit in it that they'd printed, and all the advertising that they got in as well. And then on the other side, you've got where they don't do anything. There's nothing. They're beyond reproach. Have you? What sort of links in your investigations? What sort of links have you found to other people?
Okay, that is a very interesting point. Now, I'm going to put this to your viewers and listeners in the podcast later on, perhaps. Have you seen the McCanns in a police conference ever? No.
Don't think I have.
Every other missing person case, they have a reconstruction, they have a police conference with the police out there. Here's questions to Mrs. McCann. They call their own they call their own conferences one after the other, all over Europe when they feel like it. We are going to do a press conference. What is going on? What makes them above the law? Why isn't our police doing a conference with them? Is it because they can't answer any questions? Are they scared to have a policeman in the same room as them? When they went to court with Mr. Amaral, they accused him of lying about them, right? Mr. Amaral stood there to give his testimony. When it comes to the McCanns, Mrs. McCann give written answers. Why would she do that? Because she could not face being cross-examined. This case is unbelievable. But going back, what was the question? I was just putting that out there. You're asking me what were the links to what?
Yeah, were there any links? Has there been any established links? I mean, solid. Obviously, since this has happened, there are links. Is the royal correspondent Clarence Mitchell, who became their correspondent, like the royalty or something like that. I don't know whether Jerry McCann's probably an old bastard prince or something. You know, from some sort of nefarious affair with royalty, but we've got the royal correspondent, then becomes their spokesperson. You've got the press. You've got just the whole surrounding it. Can you get any concrete links to anybody interesting prior to Madeline going missing?
Well, in my opinion, there's a lot of pre-arranged things that happened. Like I said, I don't think that swoop could have happened in the time that she was missing. The holiday was arranged long before, and soon as Madeline was missing, they're talking about starting a fund. Well, she could have turned up the next day. Why are you starting a fund? Why? And also, they're starting to talk about arranging a year anniversary of her missing within a month. Where does that plan come from? Then they're saying, oh, the first few days were the worst. First few days are the worst. You ever met a parent of a missing child or a dead child? First few days, then we started sleeping again. That happened. Doesn't happen. You don't sleep you just don't sleep. As for going jogging or playing tennis, that doesn't happen either. The people were non-functioning for a long, long time. And mainstream media, the reason they're under control is because if they don't do as they're told, they won't get any interviews. If they do as they're told, they're given the odd exclusive. You see McCann's exclusive. That's because they're doing as they're told. If you don't, one wrong question, and they'll never speak to you again. Now, with the McCann case, sells a lot of papers, gets a lot of viewers. You daren't upset them. So it's all based on like fear. If they make an accusation, they're going to be carted, rucked, or sued. If they're a journalist, their job's at stake because the editors won't let them say what they want to say. They're not thick, these journalists, you know. They know more than me. I'm just an amateur. I can say more than them. They are handcuffed, hamstrung. And any interview they do, every question is sanitized, and the questions, they know what they're going to be. And if the only questions they've ever had that are difficult have come from Australian journalists, German journalists, people like that. In this country, they have got more power than you can imagine, Jason. They literally are untouchable at every level, right the way through. Anything dangerous goes into a file and stuffed in a cupboard for all time. Madeline's medical records, no one's got them, can't find them. Jerry McCann's bank statements, where's that? His credit card records, where's that? Photographs of that week, where are those? All those people on holiday all week, photographs all week. Where are the photographs of Madeline with other children? It's like she doesn't exist. It's like it's some sort of TV story that's just made up.
Well, and that's the point as well. There are a lot of people that think that it's stage managed, it's all set up, and it's all you know. Madeline, did she even exist? I mean, we've got footage of a little girl on video footage, but we know how easily that can be manipulated these days. And even back at 2006, when Madeline went missing, even back then things could be manipulated, and you know, it does just make you wonder, that slight little bit of doubt in your mind. And was it all set up? Was it all just a stage managed show?
Yeah, I think that, but I think why? Why? Unless it was something that's gone wrong. Was it set up to introduce some sort of panic button that you have to pay for across the country to be on Facebook with a panic button? Was it done to scare us? Was it? I'd love to know why. I wasn't there on the day, but I would say personally, from my investigations, there's more to it than a missing child.
Well, we've got a suggestion of what the motive might be from our guest from last Tuesday, Hairy Cookie Monster, sorry. And Cookie's saying it keeps a constant fear phantom lurking in the public consciousness, and it seems this case is very much geared to that fear factor. Especially you look at the recent resurfacing of alleged new evidence and the Ben Needham case, and they start digging up bits of grease or getting the locals to dig up bits of grease, and all kinds of fantastic stories coming out there. But then you've got this woman who's crying her heart out on TV, and it's all seems to be aimed at getting a bit of sympathy for the McCanns, but also keeping that constant fear in the public mind.
Yeah, well, people write to me all the time and say, especially the first year, I wouldn't let the kids out of my sight, wouldn't let them play, wouldn't let them out of the house, you know, all things like that. Why would the government want us to be like that? I'm not sure. I'm more inclined to the camp that something's happened that wasn't supposed to. David Payne, one of the Tapas 9, said something was supposed to happen, but not this. Maybe there was a planned abduction and she was supposed to be found again after they made a load of money. You know, I mean, they did make a load of money anyway. £2 million for the Madeline McCann fund, which they used to pay their mortgage, used to allegedly, possibly, went through money launderers, went through different organized so-called private detectives who had no experience of looking for children, but a lot of experience in going to jail and being money launderers. If you get my meaning.
Yeah, absolutely. There's some really dodgy goings on there. I mean, we did have a question that was posed early on, and I didn't manage to sneak it in there, but somebody did ask, Alan, what other researchers on this case would you recommend taking a look at? Because there are quite a lot of people doing research on it. I know one that I've looked at that's done a great deal of work that does seem to have covered it fairly thoroughly is Richard D. Hall on Rich Planet TV. Have you seen that one? And any others you might recommend or not?
Okay. Richard D. Hall, I've met personally. I've spoke to him. I spoke to him on Facebook. I've seen him live. I've seen his show. He's produced, I think it's 12 hours of brilliant documentary evidence on the McCanns. I advise everybody to watch the whole 12 hours. It might take a while, but if you do watch it all, you get a grounding on why and what's going on. He would say, I would say that's the barometer where you should start. Personally, what I do, I go deeper into every little tiny nook and cranny to find mistakes. You know, that's what I do. Pat Brown's a very clever lady. She knows what's going on. Tony Bennett was in the early days. He was about. Peter Mack wrote a lovely book you can get free on. I think it's online for free. If you look up Peter Mack, he was an ex policeman living. I think he's living in Portugal or Spain. He's written a lot about it. I would say his work. The Jill Haven Foundation. If you go on that, put Jill Haven into your search machine, you'll find a forum there with literally thousands of pages on every aspect you can think of. I mean, they're the main ones that I respect. And let's say Sonia Paulson, who I know quite well, she's started making videos now. She's made a couple of videos that are highly watchable. So yes, Sonia Paulson would be
awesome. I'm pleased you brought Sonia up because I'm sure Webby said that she's interested in coming on our show, didn't
I bet she is, yeah, because like she's the one I told you about that used to be on the sofa on GMTV a lot. You know, she was like very well known. She still is in certain circles, but I feel sorry for her because of her approach to this case, she seems to have been shut down.
Well, unfortunately, fortunately, I think I stopped watching TV maybe a little while back, and I don't recall seeing Sonia on mainstream TV. The first time I really came across her was on David Icke's, The People's Voice. I won't give it any of the nicknames it's been given, and she seemed to do a very good job there. She came on when. Who was it disappeared and she took over?
I'm not sure, but he set up a TV channel and she was one of the main presenters on it. I think I'm not sure. Don't quote me on this, but I think they might have fell out down the line. I don't know, but she was deeply into that, and that then took her into all the other subjects she's into now. I mean, she doesn't just talk on Madeline McCann, whereas I do mainly, but she talks on a lot of issues, you know, for the people. She's very much for the people, you know, as opposed to what you'd expect to get from Lorraine Kelly, for instance.
Yeah, you'll get nothing from Lorraine Kelly. I think Andy's just gone off to coffee's lung up or something. I've been watching since you came, since I knew we were going to be having you on the show. Whenever I've been sort of pottering about in the kitchen and what have you, I've had my smart TV on and watched some of your documentaries. Now, I've got to say there's plenty of good stuff on there, but the one that really intrigued me was the story of Brenda Leyland.
Story of what? Sorry, which?
Brenda Leyland.
Oh yeah, I know. It's a very sad story, isn't it?
Yeah. So,
you want me to fill in a bit of background on that for the listeners? Or?
Yes, please. Yeah, that's what. Yeah, just give us some background. Who was she, and how did she end up coming to a sticky end? Right.
Well, Brenda Leyland was a middle-class lady living in a lovely village just 15 minutes away from Rothay, where the McCanns live. She loved her animals. She had a little dog and a cat, and loved her gardening. You know, she was a pillar of the local church, very well spoken, very much into her standing in that community. You imagine Sky TV turning up one day and saying, "You are a troll. What are you doing this to the McCanns to?" Because she was on Twitter. She spent a lot of her time on Twitter. She's over 4,000 messages on Twitter. She doesn't believe a word of the McCanns, which is an opinion, right? The narrative, which is all the McCanns got, is that there was an abduction. There's been no proof of that. Her view is there wasn't an abduction. So who's to say she's a troll, or is that just her opinion? Anyway, in my opinion, it's her opinion. But she was put into a dossier that was handed to Sky TV, and Sky decided to make an example of this lady and doorstepped her and accused her of trolling the McCanns and saying terrible things and saying, the police are looking into this. There might be an arrest or charges to follow. Now, she's in her village looking around and her neighbours are looking. You know, no one knows about this alter ego. She used to be called Sweepy Face on Twitter. So you wouldn't expect even to be found, let alone pinpointed. But they tracked her down. If you got Twitter, it's always a mistake to put your picture on your handle. So she put a picture of a dog. So once they found out her name was Brenda Leyland, they just put in the Facebook Brenda Leyland. Up comes, say, 5 Brenda Leylands, and one of them's got a picture of a dog, and the dog is the one on Sweepy Face. So that's how they hunted her down, literally hunted her down like a dog. She shouldn't have been trialed by media just for writing a few tweets. Why? The lady that handed in the dossier, she was given, you know, like, you wouldn't know who it was. It changed her voice, and she was given full protection from her real identity. This poor lady was exposed every quarter of an hour, right through a whole day on Sky TV. By the end of the day, she didn't know where she was. Little did they know she suffered from depression and a few other things. And the next day, she couldn't face anybody in that village. Her standing was shattered. She was shattered. She was finished. She left the town, told her neighbours to feed her cat, and went to a Marriott hotel. Strangely, Marriott hotel crop up a lot in these things. She went to a Marriott hotel, and before we know it, Jerry McCann's on the telly the next day on the radio saying, we need to make an example of these trolls. Now, that's all part of it. One day she's interviewed, next day he's rocks up at Radio 4 saying we've got to make an example of trolls, but then says he doesn't know who she is or hasn't read her tweets, right? But he's already said we need to make an example of somebody. There she was, being made an example of. She unfortunately couldn't cope with the situation, and we think took her own life with helium.
That's
of course.
That's an unusual way to commit suicide. Helium. I wouldn't even know how you do it. How would you do that? And why would that be the first thing that comes to your mind? Is it a middle class way to commit suicide? I don't know. What?
How many 62-year-old sophisticated ladies even know about helium could kill you? They say that her laptop was up there, and it was she's been investigating how to do it with helium. But there's no photographs at the inquest. So there's no pictures, no photographs. They've kept the inquest to a minimum. So it's hard for me to comment. I'm the opinion I don't think that would be the first choice to commit suicide of a 62-year-old lady.
Well, maybe she just had a strange sense of humour, Alan, and she just thought, well, I'll leave me last words on tape and just make it sound really funny.
The thing is, in our groups, a lot of support for Brenda. You know, she's like sadly missed, and we think what would have happened, she would have been exposed, and then many other of us would have been exposed. Could have been any of us, you know. So she was the first example because she lived nearby. She lived on her own, easy target, right? There would have been more targets, but because she died, it all closed down overnight. What I call Trollgate. I think they were an organised Trollgate to try to get, because we were the last people standing, aren't we? They've got MSM, they've got the MPs, they've got the police. They haven't got us yet. We're the last group opposing the saintly duo and their narrative.
Yeah, don't you think that they've already got their eye on how they're going to close us down with what you're seeing in social media now? We had a long chat with Cookie about that last week, and he was talking about shadow banning. You know, you make your post on social media and you can see it's there, but nobody else can see it. You know, it's like we do shows with some really very popular guests, and they get maybe 1 or 2 more, but more often than not 10 or 20 less listeners than we get when it's just me and Jason talking about what sort of week we've had and what we've noticed in the news, which is completely bizarre. And there must be some sort of manipulation making that happen.
Definitely on YouTube. On YouTube, sometimes I'll get no views for 3 days. Whether they're investigating me for 3 days or not, I don't know. Things like that. But I don't know if you know about the artificial intelligence arm of Google and Facebook, what's going to be happening with that. But most of the have resigned. And most people in Google run away from it as well. They know more than us. Artificial intelligence coming along, robotics, basically. They're going to be like Big Brother. Buzzwords that crop up. Imagine they put a word in. They put a word in already, like beheaded, don't they? And beheading videos don't appear then on Facebook, do they? Imagine putting the word McCann. Anyone mentions McCann, that post is shut down instantly. That's all they got to do. Now, we already had a case of, is it 50,000, 50 million or 500 million people were hacked on Facebook the other week? Was that to put us under control down the line?
Who knows? This Facebook stuff about hacked. Someone's hacked into millions of Facebook accounts. I think that's just. I think it's a lot of bollocks. I don't think anybody's hacked in. I mean, why would you? I know, unless you're a big data company, all the information's not going to really be any use to you, is it? I mean, what somebody.
Well, I'm a great believer in metadata. If they get meta, they know if they want to know what you're buying, what you like, what political parties you speak about. If they want to control you, if they want to know you as a person, and they know what adverts to send to you, well, then it's going to a lot of use to somebody, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's Facebook itself, isn't it? That's a use to Facebook itself, because you're already an active participant. You're using Facebook, so they can then. What I don't understand is how. What use it would be used to perhaps other big companies that want this data, but for me, it set off a bit. There was a bit of a panic where people were saying, "If you get a friend request from me, it's not from me. It's a ladder," and it was just like it's just a huge distraction for people. I just think.
What worries me, Jason, is all these executives resigning and running off to jungles. They want to get away from where the population is. That is very worrying. I don't know what's going to happen, but something's brewing amongst the social media people, because obviously we need to be controlled. We're saying too much, aren't we? We're not supposed to be. If I've reached out to 6 million people, it's just me and my phone. I got more input than, say, the Guardian newspaper from my living room. They're not going to be happy with that, are they? Can't be what they want. They want us to be taking the medicine of what they tell us to believe. But we've got the antidote. We can speak to each other. If we're one person, we're a troll. If there's 300,000 of us anti-McCanns, we're not a troll, are we? We're a group of concerned people.
Oh, yeah, you're extremists.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. They're going to put us in the extremist bag, aren't they? You're right on that. Going back, I wanted to mention one other person, because we haven't talked about body language. If you go on YouTube, there's something like 700,000 videos made about the McCanns, and 99% of them against the McCanns, of course. But there's a lot of really good body language experts. A guy called Peter Hyatt, who's really really good. He's in America, but I just wanted to recommend people to watch Peter Hyatt's stuff as well, because he's analysed the McCanns and he's come to the conclusion they were involved as well. Just wanted to mention him because I was getting messages about him.
Yeah, someone mentioned it before. Somebody, I think Rich Hall went and interviewed him, didn't it, over in the States?
Oh, it's very popular. Yeah, it's one of the most watched videos. Yeah, he's a great analyst, very, very intelligent man.
Yeah, it was Richard that flew over to the States and interviewed him on camera. Yes,
yeah,
I remember that. He's also asked him about a few other things, hasn't he? I believe at the start you mentioned the moon landings. He even asked about the astronauts' behaviour after they returned to Earth, allegedly, and gave this press conference. I mean, they actually look like one of their best mates had died rather than they'd made the greatest achievement ever for mankind, didn't they?
Well, would you see the conclusion with that and the McCanns? McCanns won't give public interviews, will they? They won't sit anywhere where there's any public. It's the same as the astronauts. They're scared stiff. They're scared. Their life's at risk. They said the wrong thing. They won't be alive anymore, those astronauts. They have to stay out. Imagine being the one that whistleblows on the non-moon landing, eh?
Mm.
But let's say that ties into what I'm saying about the McCanns not having any police conferences, not having any open conferences anymore, nothing in GB. Why don't they go on Question Time? That'd be great, wouldn't it? I'd love to see that. Or keep Jeremy Kyle out of the way. Who won't bother with that one?
Can you imagine the McCanns and Jeremy Kyle?
Oh my God!
What we could do is you could get the McCanns on Jeremy Kyle, and then have the tagline being "You tried to nick my scam," and then have Karen Matthews on the other side. You tried to nick my scam. Oh,
yeah. Yeah. I mean, we get out of the Ramseys as well from America. You make a great trio there. They've all got the same narrative.
It seems to be. This particular. I mean, there's a lot of characters in this case as well, isn't there? There were one that came up the other night on that on the drama that I was watching. I think it was a film, but it's on Netflix anyway. And it mentioned Robert Murat. I mean, there's all these. So he got a huge payout as well, didn't he? From I think he got 600,000 quid from the newspapers. So again, was that a diversion? Was Robert Murat something to do with it?
Well, you should bring up Mr. Murat. That's interesting because it brings us back to Martin Brunt, who dealt with Brenda Leyland. There was a conversation recorded in Portugal between Brunt and Murat, which seems to imply Sky were involved in what was going on. I mean, like, he was advising him. He actually said to him, "I'll get you one of our lawyers," and things like that. You know, so they were working together on something. It's very vague, but they were definitely speaking to each other on the phone. So you got Sky TV talking to the Patsy, I call him. Let's call him a Patsy, talking to him before he was arrested. He ended up being made a formal suspect. But was he paid to do all this? And then his payoff was the libel case, because his girlfriend got a couple $100,000 as well, and his friends. So there's a lot of money involved.
Yeah, just thinking about Robert Murat. I seem to recollect when he was on the scene and a major figure of suspicion in this. There was somebody who got some ground penetrating radar and hopped over the fence into his yard, didn't they? And found a void underneath the tarmac on his driveway or something.
Well, yeah, there was a South African guy who had that opinion, but he's mad as a hatter. I'm not going to put any credence to that. Right. Yeah, I think he was just after publicity. This guy. I mean, like, the sniffer dogs went into the Murat's villa and found nothing. I mean, if there was a body there, they would have smelled something, like they did in 5A. You got to remember that the dogs that were sent, Eddie and Keeler, they only reacted to all things McCann, nowhere else. Now that sort of points to figures that you've got to ask something to the parents, haven't you?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
But Operation Grange, our friends Operation Grange, tell us that the parents were completely dealt with by the PJ in Portugal, and there's nothing else to ask them because they've been eliminated from the inquiry from Portugal. Yet the Portuguese finding is that not from Mr. Amaral, but from the actual police force, that they were lying from day one. They and their friends were lying from day one. They simulated kidnap. They hid the cadaver from the police, and then they hid the body. Now that's their conclusion. And recently, the Supreme Court in Portugal confirmed the McCanns have not been cleared. In this country, they seem like saints. In Portugal, most people think they're guilty as hell because they've been told by their police they're guilty. So where does our police get the understanding that they've been cleared? Where do they get the understanding that they can only follow an abduction theory? Where does that come from? It can only come from above, right?
Of course,
Above the police.
doesn't make any sense at all, does it? So we've just reached the end of the first hour, Alan. So that's
Already.
Yeah, it soon flies by. It's amazing how many people, I can't talk for an hour, never mind 2. And then they get to the end of the first hour and whoa, what happened there? It does really.
I just want to say that I can't see your sidebar. I know a lot of people that know me are coming up with questions. If you could throw them at me as time goes on, if you see a good question, just let me know.
I'm just keeping an eye on the questions as best I can, and I'll throw in whatever I get a chance for. What we normally do at this time is we have a little break, and we used to play music.
Have a cup of tea.
Sorry?
I have a cup of tea, yeah?
Yeah. Get yourself a brew, skin up, go for a wee, whatever you need to do. And we've got 4 minutes of the absolutely wonderful Bill Hicks. So, enjoy, folks. We'll be back in 4 minutes.
Okay, I'll be back.
You've been fantastic, and I hope you enjoyed it. There is a point. Is there a point to all this? Let's find a point. Is there a point to my act? I would say there is. I have to. The world is like a ride at an amusement park, and when you choose to go on it, you think it's real, because that's how powerful our minds are. And the ride goes up and down and round and round. It has thrills and chills, and it's very brightly colored, and it's very loud, and it's fun for a while. Some people have been on the ride for a long time, and they begin to question, is this real, or is this just a ride? And other people have remembered, and they come back to us, and they say, hey, don't worry, don't be afraid, ever, because this is just a ride. And we kill those people. Shut him up. We have a lot invested in this ride. Shut him up. Look at my furrows of worry. Look at my big bank account and my family. This has to be real. It's just a ride. But we always kill those good guys who try and tell us that. You ever notice that? And let the demons run amok? But it doesn't matter, because it's just a ride. And we can change it anytime we want. It's only a choice. No effort, no work, no job, no savings of money. A choice right now between fear and love. The eyes of fear want you to put bigger locks on your door, buy guns, close yourself off. The eyes of love instead see all of us as one. Here's what we can do to change the world right now to a better ride. Take all that money we spend on weapons and defense each year and instead spend it feeding, clothing, and educating the poor of the world, which it would many times over, not one human being excluded, and we can explore space together, both inner and outer, forever in peace. Thank you very much. You've been great. I hope you enjoyed it. London, you're fantastic. Thank you. Thank you very much.
And we're back, folks. Sorry about that. I thought there was going to be 4 minutes of Bill Hicks, but it appears there's only about 2 minutes of Bill Hicks and an awful lot of clapping. Didn't have time to check that one out before we got on it. Are you back, Jason?
Great planning, that one, Andy. As usual, mate. No worries. Hey, listen, it was good. What he said were good anyway, so...
No, I just remembered that particular little segment and thought it would fit very well with what we're talking about here. It's just a ride.
Well, why don't we at the very beginning why don't we say hello to some of the people in the chat room? Hello to everyone who's watching us on Google Hangouts. Hello to Dean Yates, Sally Harvey, Canyonide, Can you Nide? Nice one. Dot. There's somebody who's just a dot. Andy knows who that is. I can't remember. Sophie Delve, Bobby 3700, Dean Yates sort of said, Tracy Ellis, Unite Planet guys. Good evening to you guys over there on Unite Planet. I hope you're feeling okay. Paula, Anders, Ali G over there as well. She's in tonight, one of the regulars. We've got plenty of great people in there. It's a great chat room tonight, isn't it, Andy?
Yes, and we've also got Patrick and Anonymous 3008 in the Raconteurs news chat room on our website. So we've got a great listening crowd tonight. We're doing really well. So it's nice that everyone's come back after things didn't go quite so well last week, but we said we'd have another try, and it appears Alan's got his end sorted, we've got our end sorted, and fingers crossed we're also good.
Okay, well, I've got a bar, so I get free drinks. So I've got a drink. It's free. It's free. I don't have to pay for my drink. So cheers.
Oh, bugger. I wish we'd known that. We could have all gone and done this from Alan's gaff, couldn't we?
Yeah, one day maybe.
Yeah, I don't think a free bar and me go very well. So it's probably for the best that I just view it over the wonders of the internet or Skype. No, it's not Skype, is it? It's Google. Google, I'm sorry, Google. Please don't cut us off because I called you Skype. Although Google do own Skype, don't they? It's all the same. They're all pissing same pot anyway. So I don't think we'll get any lawsuits. And if we do, we're here. I'm sure our listeners will be able to defend us against them. Okay, well, we've got Alan Vinnicome with us here on Raconteurs News this Monday night. And Alan, what this case? We spoke about this case for the first hour, and this is an intriguing case with so many different tangents on it. I mean, there was even a suggestion that the Podesta brothers were in the vicinity at the time. I don't know how true that is. I mean, it's one of the things that you see on Facebook, stuff like that. Judging by your reaction, I don't think you think that holds any credence. But it was.
Well,
yeah.
if you're a serious, researcher of the McCanns, I have to laugh because it's based on a misconception. It was Smithman, yeah? This looks like Jerry McCann. One of the brothers was supposed to look like Jerry McCann, and the other one's got a fatter face. So you've got these two guys, and you've got these two guys in Pizzagate, haven't you? The Podesta brothers. One with a fat face, one with a thin face. It was two brothers. Trouble is, Smithman's one person. Smithman was noticed by the Smith family walking down the street holding a baby. So it's not the fact there's two efits is because they were done on two different sets of software. They're the same man. They're the same man. There is no Podesta brother efit. It's one person. So you either accept it's the Smiths are a family and they've got a different perception of that one man. It wasn't two men sharing a baby, walking down the street, holding a baby between two of them. It's not two people. It's one person. It's Smithman. So to say it's the Podesta brothers is American. The Americans love it. They love to say that because it gives them a link to the case. But it's a myth. It's a myth. I keep telling people, but they're not listening.
Well, I'll definitely listen. It's something I've seen on Facebook a few times. I've not really looked into it. I've just seen it pop up. You know how it does when these things they go around Facebook and you know on different social media and Twitter even. I mean, I go on Twitter every now and again. Even though Twitter's just complete waste.
I'm afraid I've got to say no. I don't think the Podestas were in Portugal that week. No.
Well, that's clear now.
Yeah. I'm sorry if I'm laughing. It's such a ridiculous idea, but there you go.
Oh, well, I do apologise.
Okay.
No, it's not your fault. No, because thousands of people think that.
Yeah. Well, fair enough. I mean, we've kind of you've been able to dismiss that quite convincingly for yourself, Alan.
Yeah.
About the suggestion, I believe that the McCanns had dinner with Clement Freud, very well known alleged child abuse. I don't know if it was alleged or proven, but he's dead now, so you can say whatever you like about him, apparently, can't you?
Well, basically, he was alleged, but if you see his program, these women came forward and they made his allegations, and they seemed genuine ladies. But the key factor to that is that his wife apologized to these women after his death. You don't apologize for what he's done unless he's done it, right? So he definitely is a paedophile, and one of the girls was 10 when it started. Now, as to the link to our case, we go back to the files. There were phone calls between them. So when you have the phone calls between them, if you look at the McCanns, they backfill everything. So that evidence is there. They cannot deny they spoke to Clement Freud because the evidence shows you it does. I get metadata again. They did speak to him. So they have to make up a story around it. So what were they speaking to him about? Did they go to dinner? Or was it one of those misinformation things yet again? They definitely spoke to him. But the main point with him is on the day they were made aguidos, which is suspects, they phoned him straight after the police said to them, tomorrow we're going to investigate you. We're going to basically accuse you of being involved in this case. The first thing they did was phone not the parents, not the Leicester police that were there, not complain to the PJ, the Portuguese. They phoned Clement Freud. Why would they do that? Has he got friends in high places in England? Was he able to get them out quickly? Did he advise them on what to say and not to say? Dinner. I don't know about dinner. Is that important? I think what was important, they were scared. They were rumbled.
There was a link there, definitely. So what you're saying is there's definitely a link there. You don't know whether they had, you don't know what the plans were or what the circumstances were, but you do understand that there was a link between them.
No, I don't think there was a link. They phoned him. They spoke to his villa. So that puts them in the same bag to me as working together. The rest of it, we went on there for dinner and we had strawberry vodka and he was such fun. He's such a fantastic man. We didn't know who he was, and he said, "Oh, what can the dogs do? Well, once for yes, two for no." All of it seems contrived. When you watch the EastEnders or something, though it's real life, it's not, is it? It's contrived, and you can see through it, right? Their story, I can see through it. It's all rubbish. It's all backfilling rubbish, in my opinion. Sorry, McCann, that's my opinion, and many others.
You're not going to be checking into a Marriott hotel anytime soon, are you?
What's that, sir?
I said you're not going to be checking into a Marriott hotel anytime soon, are you?
Well, it's funny you should say that. If a lot of people have died in hotel rooms, haven't they? Unexplained. I hope not. As long as Richard Hall is still going, I feel confident I'm all right.
Well,
he's a lot more famous than me,
The Marriott hotel rooms, there does seem to be something very odd about Marriott hotels, because whenever you see one of these incidents that don't quite ring true, you not always, but very often find there's a link somehow to a Marriott hotel. I know Marriott hotels are worldwide, but so are loads of other chains, but it never seems to be another chain. It's always part of the Marriott group.
Strange, that, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
It's careful what you say, haven't you? I have no proof that Marriott are linked to MI5 or MI6.
Well, one of the questions that's been made to us is about the travelling terror show that arranges the false flag events throughout the world. They seem to make great use of Marriott hotels, and I remember a recent one that cropped up was it the Westminster Bridge thing, Jason, where instead of taking people to the hospital, they took them to a Marriott hotel, which was the same distance away as the hospital. Why would you take casualties to a Marriott hotel? It makes no sense whatsoever.
Well, there's an expression, safe houses, isn't there? You know,
Mm.
these. I mean, like there are dark arts involved all over the place, but that's conjecture, isn't it? I don't want to go that way.
No, fair comment. No.
No.
Just looking through.
Well, I just wanted to say something about the fact that the metadata I follow is all linked in all cover-ups. If I just tell you just one section of what we do, because I made a film about it. It's coming out later tonight on my channel. It's called Anatomy of a Cover-Up. Blueprint for the McCann's escape. I think they followed a blueprint that's been trodden, well-worn for donkey's years. If I just tell you one bit of it, the initial response to an allegation, not just this case, all big cover-ups, yeah? You start off with a flat denial. You see Joe McCann say, we had nothing to do with the disappearance of my daughter. That's the flat denial. Then you've got to convince the media to bury the story. Now, I'm not making these things up. This is a list that have been used. They did that, didn't they? They said the shutters were broken the same night. They got the family members to say the shutters were broken. They didn't say it themselves, because that would be perjury. They got it said as hearsay through relations, so they can deny it down the line. But the newspaper and our general population, a million of us next day were going, somebody broke into the 5A and they've gone in the window, they've jammed the shut, they took the girl out the window, she's gone. Abducted, stolen, paedophiles did it. That's what everybody thinks, even now. 90% of people think that's because they don't read what I read. They think that's what happened. That's how you convince the media to bury a story. Then that's preempting and distributing false information. That's what they did. They got people involved in that. Then you have to claim that the problem is only minimal. We were only dying 80 yards away. It's like having a barbecue in your back garden. Loads of people do it. That's how you minimize what they did with the child, with the neglect. Then you claim faulty memory. I can't remember this, can't remember that. If you look at the statements of the doctors, who are all highly intelligent people, the statements have got more ums and ahs in them than I've heard from a village idiot down here in Devon. So again, that's very dodgy. Then you claim the accusations are just half truths, or blaming us that, yeah, okay, it was neglect, but nothing else happened. Then you claim the critics have no proof. When Dr. Amaral comes up with the idea that they're suspects, you say, show me the body. Show me the body. Where there is no body, you see. So you negate the proof as nothing. Then you attack the critics' motive. You say that Gonzalo Amaral's got it in for us. He's on a mission. He wants to blame us. He wants to pin it on us. Whereas in fact, he's just trying to solve the case. He's a policeman who's trying to solve a case. Then you attack the critic's character. Suddenly, Amaral is a wine-swigging, sardine muncher in a third world Keystone Cop organization. And that's how this builds, right? I'll just give you that bit. But if you watch my film later, it's probably an hour and a half film. It shows you how these cover-ups grow, arms and legs. That's why I call it anatomy. The heart of it is Grange, at the heart of it, Grange, the Met Police, and the actual narrative that she was abducted has grown legs, and people believe it. I think it's totally untrue. And the whole thing was pre-planned, and there you are. It's all out there in the open now. Sorry about that. I just said an advert for my latest film is coming out tonight.
Yeah, no worries. We've got loads of stuff coming in on the chat room. We've got Deplorable King Boa. And they've said neglect is the McCann's alibi. And also
That's
it
right.
took a year to add the door slam. Whoosh, subliminal with sound effects every time on TV. So you get this piece
Bad
of
acting, my friend. Bad
that was
acting.
added into the story later, but you get the subliminal, you get the neuro-linguistic programming with the whoosh and the slam of the door. It sticks in people's mind, doesn't it?
I don't know if you've seen that, have you? It's the worst acting. It's like I expected the water to move behind her. It's like one of those cheap soaps. Pathetic, unbelievable, and ridiculous. Backfilling. Like I said earlier, any accusation comes out, they backfill it. A child was heard crying down below from a witness above, Mrs. Fenn. you heard a child crying for over an hour, and yet their checks are every 15, 20 minutes. How does a child cry for an hour when they're being checked on every 15, 20 minutes, half an hour? They can't even decide how many minutes it was. It was sometimes 15, sometimes 20, sometimes half an hour. If you're 6 people, why are you sending someone up to check the children, your own children, every 15 minutes when it's a 3-minute walk? Why are you sending one person to check on everybody's children? They're intelligent people. Imagine if you sat there watching a film, 6 of you, and every 14 minutes, one of you is going to go and check your one child. Surely, as a group, you come to a decision that one of us would check on all of them, yeah? That would be natural, wouldn't it? Nothing's natural about this. Like I told you, it's like on EastEnders when somebody buys the pub and the next day they own it. It's not real. You can't buy a pub in one day. Everything about their story, everything about their narrative doesn't hold water. It's not real. The narrative is not real. The people saying it are wooden and scripted. If you look at Jerry McCann, he's reading a script half the time. And they're always holding hands to squeeze each other if they're making a mistake. Like teenagers. You see teenagers holding hands, right? They're holding hands on every interview, every second of it. Squeeze that, say this, say that, in my opinion. Any more questions from our chat room?
Yeah, on the subject of the door slamming, Cyanide 77 says not to mention the inconsistencies each time Kate told that part of the story. And Ali G again has said doors and windows represent child abuse, according to Peter Hyatt.
Yeah. Well, talking about the shutters, the only fingerprints on the shutters were Kate McCann's, as in where they were put was Kate McCann's opening the window. There's no other fingerprints on the outside or the inside. So if the window was opened by somebody, it was her. And if she's making a fuss, oh look, the curtains are blown open because the window's open, she opened the bloody window. Nobody else, if it was open.
Yeah, we've got the Debs Rich is saying the limited companies set up too, which is also very suspicious. I mean, I find it very hard to put myself in the shoes of someone who's lost a child, but setting up a limited company, I think, would be a long way down the list of things that I'd be doing to try and get my child back.
Well, tell you some deep stuff I've done. I've studied copyright, and they copyrighted Kaluka, meaning it was going to be a toy. Someone probably vetoed it. They said they gave a cuddle cat to all the investigators of Moto3. So they had quite a few cuddle cats. Whether it was down the line, I'm saying, if the abduction was planned and she's supposed to be found, I think cuddle cat was going to be a toy you could buy for Christmas, you know? So that was on that thing. As far as the limited company goes, when you set up a charity, I don't think you can have a charity for one person, can you? It has to be for a group of people. So that's partly their excuse on that one. But the limited company then produced books that are impossible to follow. I mean, forensic accountants have tried making sense of it, and nobody can trace where the money's gone. I mean, who knows? Who knows where that's gone? Supposedly the private detectives. So if they're giving money to these private detectives and they're con men, why haven't they tried to get the money back?
Well, that would be a very good question to ask, but it seems they never ever leave themselves open to being asked these awkward questions. They never put themselves in a situation where the likes of yourself or me or Jason or anyone who's listening in this chat room will be able to pose some of these awkward questions.
Not allowed to, are we? We're not allowed to.
Yeah. Any thoughts on the workmen being called in to repair the parents' shutters and washing machine beforehand, says Cyanide. And also, sorry, go on.
Sorry, Joe McCann did report the shutters were faulty and they were repaired during the week. And the washing machine was reported as well. So whether there was a clean, I mean, a lot of people think that Madeline died early in the week and there was a massive cleanup. And that's you know, why the blood was under the tile instead of on top of the tile, because there was a lot of bleaching going on. That's school of thought, you know. And so the washing machine would have been used in that process, maybe it broke down then.
Yeah, fair comment. Talking of awkward questions, deplorable King Bower again. I love that chat name. How can you get 4 families, all friends, all willing to leave babies alone? I'd say it's impossible to get that many, and without there's some much deeper, much darker connection than they were just family friends. You wouldn't. I mean, nowadays you talk about leaving a child alone. You know, it's just you might as well whip your tackle out and pee all over the kid for the sort of public reaction you get to it. And to get 4 families, 4 supposedly respectable families, to leave babies alone, no, I can't believe that would happen. Not from the experience of the sort of people that I meet.
Well, I tell you, real life, you've got these children, some of them 2 to a room, some of them 3.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, all these are fantastic sleepers. They're all asleep by 7:30. All of them. Not one of them awake, right? Some of them are ill. One of them was so ill, they only knew if she was awake if they'd smelt the diarrhea. At the Oldfields, they were going in smelling for diarrhea to see if she was awake. That's how bad these parents are. So you've got these babies asleep at 7:30. But 2 of them are really ill, but they're still asleep, evidently. Do you see what I mean when I say about EastEnders? You can't believe the plot. You can't believe the script. The script's bollocks, in my opinion.
Yeah, and of course, it's a case with many victims. My thoughts go out to the 2 or 3, I don't know how many it was, cadaver dogs that obviously would have been retired after they're getting it so wrong over there in Pride-of-Lou. So they must have been retired. So that they're other victims of this.
Well, no, they weren't retired. They were so bad, they were employed by the FBI in the States. They were shipped out of the UK, so they couldn't be no more. They won't be seen anymore. They went to America to be used by the FBI, and they were involved in a case where there was no body, but they smelt the thing, and the guy was arrested and found guilty just on their evidence. That's how bad they were. They were used 200 times. To my memory, they were only questioned once or twice out of those 200. So the chance of them being wrong was 200 to 1. But the thing is, one dog went in one day, the Cavalier dog, and the blood dog went in the next, and they both alerted in the same spot. So you got 200 to 1 chance multiplied by another 200 to 1, which you're getting towards 1 million there, of them contacting the same spot. And they only did it in 5A, and they only did it in the McCann's car. How many million to 1 do you want? That's how good the dogs were.
There's another comment here from Blazing Star about the leaving children alone, and I've been on quite a few package holidays to Mediterranean countries with a small child in tow, and from my experience, all eating restaurant venues are very child friendly in those areas. Why the hell would you leave the kids and the children in the room on their own? It just doesn't make
I'll tell you one thing. I'll tell you why one thing, right? When you go into these restaurants and these children, they're in buggies, aren't they? And the McCann's got 3 babies, no buggies. How's that possible? Again, the script breaks down, doesn't it? There was a creche. They could have left him in a creche. They could have had a babysitter in their room. One of the nannies would have come in the room and babysat them, but they didn't want a stranger looking after their babies. They wanted nobody looking after them. They left the sliding door unlocked, and it's facing the road. Anybody could walk in at any time, supposedly, if they were there. Now, we have a cleaner the day before saying the McCanns were in the room. She was one of the last to see them alive, supposedly see the child alive, but no, she just saw her or not. But the McCanns left by the sliding door, and the sliding door only locks from the inside. So we know the day before they were quite prepared to go out and leave their flat open to any predators to come and steal their money or their passports or anything. Or were they setting up an alibi with the cleaner as an alibi, saying they went out leaving the sliding door open? This case is so complex and unbelievable. I could talk about it in 55 hours more. In years to come, this will be a university degree. This case on its own. because there's so much information out there.
We've got an interesting question here from Tracy Ellis Roberts in YouTube, and she's saying, do you think Jane Tanner was the woman in purple?
Well, the woman in purple was one of the suspects used to get some more money in Grange, and she does wear purple. And the reason she's the woman in purple is because Jeremy Wilkins said in one of his statements that he saw a woman in purple down in the street. That probably was Jane Tanner, because then he said he saw her on the balcony, so that probably was Jane Tanner. That's where the woman in purple comes from. But as a suspect, there was no such woman in purple as a suspect. As a person, I think, yes, they were referring to Jane Tanner.
Right. Okay. We've got the McCann's cleaner said there was a cot in their bedroom on the last day she cleaned. The McCanns denied it. Any
That's
thoughts
true.
on that at all, Alan?
Well, I'll tell you what I think. When I see the room, I know what a room looks like. It's got 3 kids. You have toys, shoes, everything. Where was all that? Well, it looks like they weren't even living there.
Exactly, and wasn't there a bit of a problem because they wanted DNA of Maddie, and there was nothing in the whole apartment that had her DNA on it.
Well, they couldn't find any DNA, man. I don't know why. I mean, like, maybe they're saying it was similar to the other siblings. Maybe that they wanted a definite. So you had to go home and get a pillowcase all the way home in England and brought it back, which was definitely hers. But you would think there was something. I mean, the toothbrushes were. They said they were shared by all the children. The toothbrush would have given it away, on its own. But evidently there wasn't 3 toothbrushes. It's so complex. It's not true.
Mm. Yeah.
But on the night, these two other children, these twins, slept right through the whole thing. Commotion, people shouting, swearing. They've effing taken her, craziness there going on. These two never stirred, these 2 babies.
There's a phrase, Alan.
Were they dubbed?
They've taken her. Who do you think?
Yeah, they. Yeah. Well, if I said they, I would know who I was talking about.
Of course.
If a child's gone, you would say she's gone. Someone's taken her.
Someone's taken her.
To say they is to imply more than one person, right? She hasn't seen them. Only she knows it's more than one person. They is more than one.
Well, and they also intimates that you've got some idea of who they are because someone's taken it. Yeah, that's the obvious statement. But when you say they, that
you know who they are.
That who they are.
Yeah, like there's someone else in on it, and these someone else's have taken it upon themselves to take the body or whatever. But she's not alive anyway, in my opinion, on that night. I can't see that.
Mm-hmm. Debs Rich says, have you noticed how quiet the McCanns have been since the heady days of being celebs? Their time is coming.
Well, I'm glad Debbie said that. On Maddie's 4th birthday, they went to the church to celebrate, and when they come out, people were cheering and clapping and almost asking for autographs, and they reveled in it. They were smiling and laughing and joking. Their child's missing. They love the celebrity. They love all the attention. Now, not so much. They seem to be dragged into the limelight now. They're trying to avoid the spotlight now instead of sitting under it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's something I've been looking at quite a lot just lately. It's just been brought up by Unite Planet, which I believe is Paul. Paul does his own podcast on Unite Planet. Him and Johnny, they do a great job. And Paul says he would love to see a remote viewing session of this whole event. Now, I've been looking at remote viewing.
What is that? I don't know what that is.
Remote viewing is I don't know if you ever saw the film The Men Who Stare at Goats. It was put out as a big piece of disinformation to basically discredit the whole idea that the CIA was spending an awful lot of time and money and resources looking into psychic phenomena, which they certainly were. Now, we're told that the remote viewing program stopped many years ago, but essentially when we're told that programs like these that stop are effective, that's code for them going into undisclosed projects or black projects. So it is something that there are a lot of people who've undergone this military training. You can even learn how to do it on the internet. There's a gentleman called Russell Targ who ran the remote viewing program for the CIA. I can't remember, was it Stanford or MIT? And he talks about how to do remote viewing. It is a very simple and natural process, which apparently we can all do if we just learn how to do it. And you can transport your mind through time and space and view events that are happening on other parts of the world, other parts of the solar system, the galaxy. And you can even go forwards and backwards in time. Now, obviously, the forwards and backwards in time is very difficult to prove, but the results on remote viewing known locations is absolutely astonishing. I'd love to get a good remote viewer onto that, and actually, I'm planning on meeting one and having a bit of a chat with them sometime next year. So,
Interesting. Yeah,
do anything on that. That would be interesting.
Well, there was Kevin Halligan said that he could get from the FBI Google sort of satellite images of that village and who was walking about outside from that night from the FBI. That's what he said. I don't know if that would be possible or whether it was possible. That's not in my remit of understanding, but evidently there is satellites up there that can see most things now, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Can I just ask you something, Alan? I've noticed somebody's posted in the chat room, Deb Rich as well. Again, I'm sure it's somebody that you know. But Jerry has passed now too, apparently. And didn't he have a bit of a breakdown recently? What happened there? Because I heard something around that, but I didn't actually. Well, to be fair, I didn't really care, But I didn't really look.
Okay, well, what happens is when the funding's coming up every 3 months for Grange, they come up with a story. As your colleague said, the lady in purple, or it could be some bloke on a tractor, it could be the gypsies, it could be anything they like other than the McCanns. But anyway, because the funding wasn't forthcoming, it just so happens that Jerry was on radio, I think it's Radio 4, talking about depression and a breakdown a day that the police had to decide Home Office to give them the money or not. Now, does this look contrived to you? Yes, it does. I think that's just one of their usual ploys to squeeze more sympathy and squeeze more funding.
And it was around the time of World Mental Health Day, which was, I think, was either last week or the week before. It was around about that time as well, so that gives it an added bit of leverage because you'll get publicity from world people looking at World Mental Health Day, and you'll get people publicity from all different angles. You know what I mean? So it like.
But Jason, how contrived is it? That's the problem.
Yeah,
of course. The metadata is all the time, and people believe it. It really gets my goat. And why don't they think, hang on, this is too easy? We'll do it a week before or something,
But okay, I'll tell you what. Let me be one of them people that gets you go. Let me just ask you a quick question. Let me just say to you, okay. Of course, they're going to want to get as much publicity as possible, and they're going to associate it with as much, as many different issues as possible, whether it's mental health, whether it's the appeal, or whether they get a story out. Now, somebody would say, well, that would be they would probably be advised that was the best time to do it. So that is the only reason for that. Now, this is not my stance. This is me just trying to piss you off.
No, you're not going to piss me off.
How do you react to somebody saying that to you? If they said to you, right, well, what do you expect? It's World Mental Health Day. He's got depression. He's going to try and get as much publicity as possibly can. He wants to keep on looking for his daughter. I think about 11 million quid so far it's cost government. Cost us, because the government don't have money. They're just custodians of our money. So it's cost us 11 million quid so far, and you know, trying to get more in. You know, that's the way that it would do it.
Right, Jason. What I would say to you is, I get people writing to me all the time. I've had parents of missing children write to me. I've had parents of dead children write to me who can't find the body of their children, and they want to know why you're spending 12 million on this one case when the average cost of a missing child is 50,000 max. Ben Needham, they say Ben Needham hasn't got the money that Madeline had. You can't even name the others. There's thousands of missing children. We don't even know their names. Imagine those parents. They've done this to death. They can't find the child. They've never got one bit of evidence of abduction since day one. They're working on a narrative. Why spend more money on it? Why not prioritize that money for something useful and make this into a cold case? If something crops up, you investigate. If it doesn't, you stop this stupid cover-up, this stupid reason to say we can't do any more because it's an ongoing investigation. That's why we haven't got Netflix, because it's an ongoing investigation. It was supposed to be renewed the end of September. Nothing's happened. For the first time, they've gone silent. It's been reported in Portugal that the funding's finished, that it's over. But in this case, they wouldn't even tell us. They'd probably leave it to the financial year in April and say, "Oh, we've stopped it now. It's a cold case." But they're not even looking. They're not. You have to look at the parents. If you're going to do, if the parents want this child found, they need to answer the questions and eliminate themselves for their own mental health, because it's mental torture what's happened to them. They're under mental torture. People don't believe them.
Yeah.
Tell us what we need to do.
A little while earlier, Alan, we talked about what researchers you would and perhaps wouldn't recommend. You didn't really go in any that you'd say were talking absolutely rubbish. But one has sprung to mind with a comment that Sophia Delve has made. She says that MI5 spies know what happened to Maddie McCann, claim the Portuguese detective. Now, on that middle thread there, that just made me think about a gentleman who says that he knows full well from his back channels what happened to Maddie, and that's...
You're going to say Shrimpton, aren't you? You're going to say Shrimpton to me, aren't you?
Yeah. Oh, you were ready for that one, weren't you?
This guy is nuts.
Yeah.
This guy's nuts. He's been in prison. He's nuts. He blames the Germans for everything.
Yes, he does.
I haven't read his stuff, but I bet you he blamed... I'm asking you now, did he blame the Germans?
The German intelligence, the DVD, were connected to the Portuguese intelligence. The Nazis stayed on after the Nazi government got rid of. Portuguese intelligence is still run by Nazis, and that's how it happened.
I've discounted him long ago. I can't help you on that one. He has a lot to say, but very little deep research or evidence. So I would say we want to avoid, in my opinion.
Yeah, it seems that everything you get from Michael Shrimpton is knowledge that he's got that nobody else can get, nobody can check, nobody can disprove what he's saying. So you just
unsubstantiated rubbish. There you go. That's my opinion.
Mm-hmm. And if you'd like to refute that allegation, Mr. Shrimpton,
come on, let's have a discussion.
Please,
if you want to get the McCanns on, I'll talk to them. I'm ready, no problem. Or Clarence Mitchell, or anybody.
Yeah.
Will they discuss it? No.
Do you think there's a lot of point in inviting the McCanns to come on Raconteurs News? Because I don't think that would be a fruitful exercise.
No, I think Question Time have got the same chance as you, Neil. Absolutely no chance.
No whatsoever. Whoa. Right, so anyway, we've got about 20 minutes left. We've got Alan Vinnicome with us here on Raconteurs News, guys. Big hello to everybody who's in. Big hello, I keep saying that. I'm super excited. Hello to everyone who's in the chat room. It's a great chat room again tonight. We are blessed with a great chat room here at Raconteurs News, some good contributors who we've often had on the show with the and they've all been absolutely superb, with the exception of Super Leeds, who was a little bit refreshed, shall we say. But yeah, we've got you on for. We've got about another 15 minutes before we have to sort of wrap up. So What's next for you? What are you working on now? Are you working on anything in particular? Any? I know you've got a new video that's come out.
I've just released it this minute. Funny you should say that. I've just released it. It's on YouTube now. It's called The Anatomy of a Cover-Up: The Blueprint for the McCann's Escape. And I go through every single action they've taken, and you will see it is a Megadata absolute cover-up, in my opinion. And if you watch it, it's about an hour. You will hopefully come, after listening to me now, this all ties in with this particular video. I'm so pleased I've got a chance to promote it. Please watch it on YouTube.
Well, I'm sure everybody that's watching this will find it on YouTube and either watch it now.
See what I've done there? See what I've done there? Released it now. What timing, eh?
Brilliant, absolutely. It's an exclusive here on Raconteurs.
Exclusive for you.
Yes, yeah. We've had a premiere. It's been premiere.
Yeah, it's a premiere. Hashtag 28, Anatomy of a Cover-Up.
Anatomy of
my best one yet, yeah. But I always say that.
So, what about this question? Let me just ask you this question. At what point do you stop?
What time? Where do I stop?
No, yeah. At what point do you think, right? I've done absolutely everything there is that I could do on this case.
Okay, well, I made 28 films, and I'm probably going to have to make another 200. At that point, I've probably covered every point. That's how many. That's how I'm doing. I'm doing the micro effort they've done. I'm going into micro expressions. I'm going into everything. There's so many topics I've yet to do. I haven't touched it. I've got a book. Well, I can't print it. It'd be shut down. But if ever this case is solved, I will release it. But my films are based on my book, which is called Blameless or Shameless. You are the jury. You decide. Are the McCanns blameless or are they shameless? It's up to you to decide. I'm not saying they did anything. I'm saying there's another side to MSN spin.
Mm-hmm.
How can you have a one-sided case? It's just wrong. It's totally wrong.
Yeah, someone in the chat room mentioned your Facebook group, Alan. So could you give that a shout out? And also let anyone who would like, who's got any information they may want to contact you with, give them the details of how to contact you or look at your research.
Okay, well, on Facebook there are a lot of groups, but most of them are really based on old evidence. I'm trying to put a new spin on the old evidence and try to keep it current, because it's very difficult to keep repeating the same thing. So my my Facebook group is called the Armchair Detective versus the McCanns. You just put in Armchair Detective versus the McCanns, and you'll find it. Welcome to join us, where we discuss the case daily, but not like the other groups. We discuss it as in what mainstream media are up to today. Eventually, I'd like to do a YouTube, maybe live, down the rabbit hole, we're going to call it, maybe just once a week or something to keep the latest news going. But anyway, as far as
Grant Cameron's already got down the rabbit hole on YouTube.
Oh, has he? Well, I'm taking votes on what to call it. We don't know yet. I haven't got that far. I haven't got a clue how to do it even yet. So
yeah, I don't think Grant's terribly precious about a name like that. I mean, I would imagine it's probably copyrighted all over the world. But we've got a question there from Tony Carey in the chat room. But before I ask that, you mentioned an exclusive. And a good friend of ours who's in the chat room tonight, she might have just disappeared because she's getting ready for her own show, has got a big exclusive.
All right.
And let me tell you, when we close down, get yourselves over to People's Internet Radio and listen to Joan and Graham, because they've got some fantastic news on. They've got Lee Garrett, who was on with us the other week from Save Us Now, and Mark Steele, because Mark Steele's gagging order has been lifted, and he'll be talking about his court case and how they got a marvelous judge and policeman. Maybe I'm giving our game away a little bit because we're going to be having them on next Monday, but I'm sure we'll be able to get something different out of them to what Joan does. We all have our different ways of doing things. But Tony's question was, is there any evidence anywhere that after Kate announced to the group that Maddie had been taken, that any of the group ran to their own children to make sure they were okay?
Well, I'm glad you asked me that. Who's in the tapas bar when she's come running in and said they've taken her? Where are all these witnesses? We haven't got any. No one evidently was in there eating apart from them that's got anything to say. Well, we get a few little bits from the staff, but I don't even believe I don't believe the alarm was 10 o'clock. In my belief, the alarm went off about 20 past 9. So I've still got a lot to say about that. You see, that I need to sort that out. I believe the timeline is shot to pieces when I prove that the alarm was raised at 20 past 9. I think I can prove that within a few weeks. That's my next project, to prove the timeline was not 10 o'clock. Well, I forgot the question. What else did you want to know? Oh, you're on mute.
Andy, we can't hear you.
You're on mute.
Something's happened. You're not muted your mic on here, but
yeah, sorry, I'm muted on my desk.
Okay.
The question was, is there any evidence anywhere that after Kate announced that Maddie had been taken, that any of the other parents ran to check that their children were okay, which would be the obvious thing that anyone would do with children who were alone?
My understanding is they spread out and searched the complex looking for Maddie, shouting Maddie, looking for her. That's my experience. As to more going back checking their children, not that I know of. That's another thing that's unnatural, isn't it? You think they'd all run straight back to... Well, hang on a minute, though. Kate's discovered, supposedly, that Maddie's gone. And what does she do? She's got a mobile phone. Did she phone her husband and say, help, Maddie's gone? Did she shout from the balcony, it's supposed to be so close, help, Maddie's gone, come quickly? No. She ran all the way back to the tapas bar, left the door open with the other two babies there to be taken. She's just said that the one child's been taken, probably by paedophiles. Would the mother leave the other two? Really? Is that possible? You see why I can't believe anything in this case. Even I don't believe a word the tapas nine say. Nothing. I question everything they say. It's all said for a reason. They have an agenda. They have a narrative to stick to. Even nothing. I question everything. Sorry, lost you.
I think we had a bit of an echo there coming back from you, Andy. No worries. I'm sure it'll sort itself out.
Sorry, lost you.
No, it's okay. It wasn't me echoing. It was Alan Stumble growling.
No worries. I'm sure.
My pint growling, I think. Are we okay?
I think so.
All right.
I can't hear you, Andy, because you're on mute, mate.
He's on mute. He's on. Best if I talk to you, Jason.
It's getting confusing. My mic muted itself, but YouTube unmuted itself. That's why I was hearing myself coming back about 4 minutes later. That's a bit weird.
Yeah.
Oh, well, anyway, listen, we've got about 10 minutes to go. Well, we've got 10 minutes before we have to be off air. I don't think we're going to be playing out with your record tonight, are we? We're just going to end. What do you reckon, Andy? Because got us into a bit of trouble last week. Playing, and notice it was Dinny that got us into bother. It was his record that we wanted to play, and it ended up getting copyrighted.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
No, that's the trouble, isn't it? I get that all the time on YouTube. I get told off all the time on YouTube.
Actually, I have got a song that I really want to close with, and it's just perfect to close this show, and it's 2.5 minutes. So we've got about 7 minutes. So is there anything we've not covered that we feel we really should have, Alan?
Well, I've got another specialised subject, Chelsea Football Club, but I suppose that's for another day, is it?
Oh dear.
Leave you and Jason to that.
Mean,
Chelsea. I mean, come on.
How long have we got?
You live in Devon.
Well, I'm just hoping that Grange can see what the people are saying, and maybe just go and question the McCanns for us. Just get it over with, because it's gone on too long. 11 years is too long. Let's get it out in the open. The people aren't stupid anymore. We've all woken up. This is all one big cover up. They have to remember down the line they might have to answer for this. £12 million is a lot of our money to go missing on an investigation. There's not an investigation. It's got a remit not to investigate the Tapas 9. And yet they're the people that are there on the ground zero on the day. How can you not speak to them? How can you pretend the Portuguese police are happy to say that they're not suspects when it's a total lie? How can our police lie to us and our people believe it? It really annoys me. If you've got one police force saying they're involved and the other saying they're not involved, they've been dealt with, where are we? Someone, I don't believe the Portuguese are lying, put it that way.
Just one more question. We've got a question from the chat room. I think this is probably going to be the last question from the chat room from Tony Carey again. And the question is, please ask about one of the other daughters being a decoy.
Yes, I totally agree with that. My opinion is that Smithman was in fact an alibi. They wanted an abductor to be seen carrying Madeline away. That way, how can you blame the parents? The boogeyman did it, didn't he? He took her, yeah? So they're not going to carry a dead child through a village when they've given out that their child's missing, because someone might catch them. Imagine carrying a dead child through 100 people looking for that child, and oh, there he is. Look, he's carrying a dead child. No, I don't know any murderer that's going to do that. I don't even know a murderer is going to take the body away. I've never heard of that sort of thing, carrying a dead body through the street. So they would need a decoy for this alibi, right? So I think if it was Jerry McCann, he's carrying one of the other daughters as a decoy. Your viewer is dead right. And if he is stopped, he's just carrying a sleeping child. If he's seen at the top of the hill in Dipsy Light, because he only walked where there's really bad lighting, so they're going to see a man carrying a child, and they're going to say, yes, here's your alibi. I saw him carrying a child. That's what Smithman was. That's what I believe was set up. And they used one of the other children as a decoy. All 9 of them are in it. All 9 of them are in it together, in my opinion.
Got an interesting but slightly off the wall comment from Daniel Hay. And it's something I'd actually noticed before, but not brought it up. And Daniel says, do you notice how nobody ever mentions the possibility of alien abduction? And he also adds, ask Kate and Jerry what their favorite color UFO is and take it from there. What do you reckon, Jace?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think that'd be the first question I'd ask if I got Kate and Jerry McCann. I'd say, what's your favorite color UFO? And they'd probably tell me, I don't know. Kate, I could see Kate saying banana, and I could see Jerry saying plum. But then I'd just say, oh, I can tell you're lying.
Yeah. Do you know, it's funny you should say that, because there are literally hundreds of different theories. And only one of them is right. Only one of these hundreds are right. Some are more possible than others, like the alien one might be a bit dodgy, but there are hundreds of scenarios here. And that's what keeps the interest. Princess Diana died. Do we hear about her much today? She was the biggest celebrity in the world. McCann's are in the paper every single week of their lives.
Yeah. That is interesting, isn't it? It is interesting the amount of coverage they get, the amount of positive coverage they get. We've had a question again, just one from Tony Carey again. Asks, how do I contact Armchair Detective? I think that's
just write to me on the Facebook page. Armchair Detective versus the McCanns. Come and join us. Talk to us. I've got admin there. They can pass on. And if anybody's got any great information, I'd like to get it. I've had a few tonight, actually, which I'm really excited about. People that know the McCanns. So I'll be looking at that later.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
so you've helped me. You've helped me with my research. You've helped me with my research.
I hope in some small way we've helped you along. Andy,
how do people get to see this? Not everybody can join it tonight. Where will it be? Where will it be for people to watch it? Just YouTube or
It'll be on YouTube, and also once we've done the live show, we upload the audio to our Spreaker channel, which is on that you can access both of those through our website, raconteursnews.com. So it's on YouTube, it's on Spreaker, it also goes out on iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio,
Right.
on loads of different platforms.
A lot of my listeners are female. 70% of my listeners are female, and they like to listen to me when they're doing their ironings. That's what I'm saying. Maybe they don't want to see my picture, but to get an audio would be great. Probably be clearer and a lot less easier on the eye. Yeah.
Well, that's what we always think. It's always a lot better if people don't have to look at us. Yeah.
yeah. Well, I've enjoyed it though. Thanks very much. Yeah.
I like people to look at me. Thank you very much. I'm an attention.
Oh, yeah.
Why do you think I'm on radio? For God's sake.
Right.
If you're going to wear an Argentina shirt, then I can understand nobody wanted to see you, but there you go. Try wearing an England one. They're playing Spain tonight. Are they getting on?
They're winning 3-0, would you believe?
No.
They are winning 3-0.
That's worse than the UFO taking Madeline.
Honestly, they are winning 3-0.
That's amazing.
I know.
Hang on, you knocked me out of there.
England are playing away in Spain and are winning. Let me just check because it was 3-0 at half time.
Well, while Jason's checking, I'll just say that Webby wants to pass on his best regards, Alan. He's so sorry he couldn't make it. And
thanks for turning up, mate. Yeah.
He's got an interesting point. He said the McCann's fund is full of promises. So we didn't quite get the bills of mentioned tonight, but we've got a little reference to it there for anybody who cares to pick it up.
Well, if your listeners want me back, I'm happy to come back sometime in the future.
That'd be really cool, Alan. Thanks very much. Before we wrap up, we just better mention what we're doing in the near future, Jason. We've got Benj back on tomorrow night, haven't we?
Yes, we have. Yeah, fresh from our appearance on his show that I don't think it's been broadcast yet. But he's coming back on to Raconteurs News again. Always good value, Benj, and it'll be nice to be grilling him, rather than him grilling us like he were a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, that's really cool. So we got Ben Emlyn Jones on from 7 o'clock tomorrow night, and then on Monday, I think Monday's going to be a real big show. We've got Lee Garrett coming back, and wow, Lee called me as soon as I got in Friday night, and he just blew my mind. I mean, the enthusiasm and the passion that just oozes out of that guy is phenomenal. The same goes for Mark, but it would just absolutely. I wish I'd recorded that. Obviously, couldn't record it because certain things were said there that maybe wouldn't want to be broadcast. But I'm so much looking forward to getting them two on together. And I think Monday night is going to be something very special. So we'll wish you all a grand week. Have a fabulous week and a weekend. And we'll all be back same time Monday night.
Very good.
I always remember. I did not understand.
They can't hear us anymore, can they?
Yes, they can.
Oh, good night, everybody. See you. I'll get in trouble copyright all the time as well.
Well, no one told me about her, the way she lied. Well, no one told me about her, how many people cried. Well, it's too late to say you're sorry. How would I know? Why should I care? Please don't bother trying to find her. She's not there. Let me tell you about the way she looks, the way she acts, and the color of her hair. Her voice is soft and cool, her eyes are clear and bright, but she's not there. No one told me about her. What could I do? No one told me about her, though they all knew. Oh, it's too late to say you're sorry. How would I know? Why should I care? Please don't bother trying to find her. She's not there. Let me tell you about the way she looks, the way she acts, and the color of her hair. Her voice is soft and cool, her eyes are clear and bright, but she's not there. Well, it's too late to say you're sorry. How would I know? Why should I care? Please don't bother trying to find her. She's not there. Well, let me tell you about the way she looks, the way she acts, and the color of her hair. Her voice is soft and cool, her eyes are clear and bright, but she's not there.